Hello again everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today's video is part 1 of a two-part series where of course we're going to be taking a look at the Black Square turbine and piston Dukes. The Duke is an aircraft I know many of you have been looking forward to within the sim, and at this point in time, with the number of high quality add-ons that Black Square have put out, you can be pretty sure the Duke is going to be excellent. Just Flight were kind enough to reach out to me asking whether or not I would like to preview both the turbine and the piston Duke. So that is exactly what we're going to be doing here today. For our flight today, we are currently on the ground at Sedona. We're going to be making a short run up north towards Grand Canyon National Airport. Today's flight is going to be a test of the Duke's IFR capabilities. We're also going to be testing out integration of the TGS Garmin G10Xi. As always, with an early access look at such a product, please do bear in mind that things may change between now and the aircraft's release. There may still be one or two additional features yet to come, a few tweaks here and there to various aspects of the product. That being said, I believe the Black Square Duke family is pretty much ready for release. The aircraft has been somewhat in limbo due to the delayed Sim Update 15. So hopefully what I can show you here today is pretty representative of the final product. As always, I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. And if you would like to help support the channel further, you can do so by becoming a channel member or patron. Okay, so today then we find ourselves here on the ground in Sedona, in the cockpit of the Black Square Turbine Duke. As always from Black Square, a highly detailed, really excellent add-on, certainly as well with the modelling and texturing, a very high level of attention to detail. I will say with the texturing, once again you get that slightly more painted effect as opposed to what I would consider to be photorealistic. Don't let that fool you, the system's depth on the aircraft is pretty much second to none, and as usual we'll demonstrate that with more or less a full startup. We are just going to be skipping some systems tests here as we go. So for the pre-flight checklist, the pre-flight inspection has been completed, control locks are removed. Another really nice feature of the add-on, you can see the external equipment is actually stored on board, so you can click on that if you want to actuate it. And same as well, our control locks just located down on the right-hand seat here of our passenger. So control locks have been removed, the seats and seatbelts are secure, cabin door is closed and latched, same as well here for the nose baggage compartment. Parking brake is set, landing gear lever is selected down, electrical switching is selected off, engine and avionics switches are selected off, oxygen pressure is checked, we shouldn't need that for the flight today. Circuit breakers are checked in, and again, as with any Black Square product, system's depth is excellent. The circuit breakers are modelled, there are random failures as well on the aircraft. Supplemental bleed air is selected off, the levers are pushed in. Same as well for the cabin pressure shut off, both levers in. Alternate static air is set through to normal, the CO detector, just carry out a test. And again, carbon monoxide leaks are modelled on the aircraft, which is a really nice touch. I don't think there's too many add-ons out there that do that. Can suffer the effects of carbon monoxide poisoning. Environmental mode is selected off, flaps are selected up, power levers are in the flight idle position. Prop levers set through to high RPM, condition levers are in the cut-off position, trims are centered, and the fuel selectors both on. So for the before start checks, the beacon light is selected on, we'll take the nav lights on here as well. Battery master is selected on. Really excellent sounds as well from the aircraft, you'll hear those throughout. Fuel quantities, we've got 100 gallons there in both the left and the right main tank. Just cancel the master caution and the master warning. The annunciators, those are tested and checked. Battery selector, we're currently on 1. Again, just cancelling the master caution and the master warning. Looking for a minimum of 23 volts, currently showing 24.9 there on number 1. And same there on number 2. Come through to both now on the battery selector. Checking the igniters, so ignition will come through to auto. And you can see there we do have the caution and through to on. And we'll do the same here on the right, through to auto, there's our caution, and through to the on position. Check the fuel pumps, so wing pump, first on the left. We do have fuel pressure, also you can hear there the pump audibly working. We'll go through to the aux pump, same there with the aux, and back to off. And same on the right, checking the wing pump. There's our rise in fuel pressure. And same with the aux pump, that's working correctly. And back to off. So we are now good for the start. We'll just check the prop area. We'll be starting the right-hand engine first. All looks to be clear as usual. We'll just give our ground handlers a bit of a shout here to let them know we're going to start the aircraft.
Clear prop.
You can hear the igniters there as well with the window open, which is a really nice touch. So closing up the DV window once again, and we'll hit the right-hand starter. Okay, so we do now have a good start here on the right-hand engine. The engine parameters look good, and we've selected the right-hand generator on. For the amps, we're looking for below 60 amps within 2 minutes, well within limits there, currently showing 21. And for the battery voltages, we're looking for a minimum of 28, we're currently showing 28.5. Battery temp, we're looking for below 120 degrees Fahrenheit, again well within limits there. And again, on the aircraft, battery heating and cooling is modelled. You'll see a peak in temperatures there as we draw for the engine start. So again, really excellent level of systems depth. Anyway, we are now good for the left engine start, so once again just making sure the left-hand engine and prop is clear, which they both are. We'll engage the starter. You can hear the NG there spooling up. We're looking for a minimum of 15% before we introduce the fuel. Prop just turning there as well.
Tower, November 78445, 87 north, 10 down, full stop.
There's our 15%, so the condition lever can go through to run. Good light off. More pressure coming up there as well. And we're now waiting on 52% NG, at which point we can disengage the starter. So there's 52%. Data is off, ignition is off. Engine instruments are checked. The left-hand generator can go on. And again, we're looking for below 60 amps, currently showing 10 there on each side. 28.5 volts, and the battery temps we're now looking for below 140 degrees, once again well within limits. The after start checks, we'll take the panel lighting on. It's a fairly gloomy day outside. Weather radar will come through to standby. Avionics master is selected on, and we'll take the main inverter on here as well. Cabin temperature mode, currently 12 degrees down the back, so pretty chilly. We'll come through to auto heat. We'll just initialize the Garmin GCN XI here as well. So once again, using the TGS GCN XI, worth noting this is a payware add-on, and we're using the Pro version of the product here today.
TOS, system test OK.
The Pro version now includes Navigraph support, so a really nice feature of what is a really excellent product within the sim. We'll use the GCN XI for the Flight in the Turbine Duke. We'll take a look at a more basic avionics configuration when we take a look later on at the Piston Duke. They're the unit initialized for now. We'll just come through to standby as well here on the transponder. We're going to carry out the run up in our present position, really just for the sake of the sequence here in the video. So once again, the park brake is set, annunciators are tested and checked. The HSI, we're showing a heading there of about 125 degrees. Same there as well on the standby compass. Fuel selectors can both go through to crossfeeds. Wing pumps are selected on. Coming up on the power levers, we're looking for 2050 on the RPMs.
78445, Dutch Tower and red base runway 24. Red base for 24, 78445.
Once we've got the RPM set, we're going to carry out a prop governor test. Okay, so there's 2050 or thereabouts. Carry out the prop governor test. We should see the RPMs there come back towards around 2000. So 1990 there on the left. And same there on the right, coming all the way through now to 2190 on the RPM. There's 2190, exercising the prop levers. Coming back to around 1500 RPM. Once more, really excellent sounds with the product, and I gather these sounds are going to make their way over to the TBM 850 as well, which will be really nice. Carry out a fire detection test, and the test is good. Back through now to idle on the power levers. Whilst we're doing that, the oil doors can go through to open. Same as well for the ice deflectors. Instrument air is checked, we're up in the green band, lights are out. Cockpit window is once again closed and locked. Cabin altitude, we are currently showing field elevation, so just below 5,000 feet. And for the cruise today, we're going up to 15,000 feet, so we'll set that on the pressurization controller. That's going to be giving us a cabin altitude of around 3,500 feet. The cabin climb rate set through to the 10 o'clock position. We're going to skip our way through the pressurization system tests here today, just to save a little bit of time on the cockpit preparation. We should see the ISDR lights on the warning and caution panel. We do have both of those there in blue. Ice deflectors we'll leave open for the time being. Shouldn't be too much in terms of any FOD on the way up, but that is again modelled on the aircraft, so just to protect against that, we'll leave them open. Fuel selectors can both go back onto the mains. Pitch trim power is selected on. Just testing out the electric trim here as well. That seems to be operating correctly. We'll carry out an autopilot test. And the test is good. As with the TBM, it does seem as though you have somewhat of a beta range with your normal throttle axis, so just moving the throttles back into the neutral position. So pitch trim's checked, autopilot has been checked. Pitch trim is set through to takeoff. The flaps come through to the down position initially, just checking the operation of the flaps. Those are running out. And we do have a down indication. Coming back through to the approach position here for the takeoff. In transit currently, and we now have the flaps set through to approach. And visually those are checked. The cabin door annunciator light is out. Ignition will come through to auto. Flight controls are full and free. Altimeter is set here on the left. We've got a QNH of 1031 or 30.44 here in the States. Same on the right, and again that's giving us an aerodrome elevation here of around 4,800 feet. Departure altitude, we're going to be climbing our way today up to 15,000 feet as discussed. We've got 15,000 set. Takeoff heading, we'll set the heading bug. We're going to be departing off the southwesterly runway. In terms of our flight plan, pretty straightforward. We're going to be departing out of Sedona, initially towards the Flagstaff VOR, that's Foxtrot Lima Golf. We'll then be on towards waypoint Savra, which is Sierra Alpha Victor Romeo Echo. And then from there we'll be picking up the ILS runway 03 into Grand Canyon National, which is Kilo Golf Charlie November. The initial departure track is 007. We'll set that here on the HSI. The 007. We use conventional nav initially just to track out towards Flagstaff. We'll test out the GPS navigation later on. So again, pretty straightforward flight plan. We'll come back onto map. As you can see, we're currently down on the main apron. We're going to be taxiing left here out towards runway 21. And just to demonstrate early on here some of the Navigraph functionality, which again is absolutely excellent. Just wait here for the chart to load. Quick look at our present position. Once again, currently down on the apron. We'll taxi straight ahead, join left onto taxiway Alpha, and down to Alpha 1 for the holding point of runway 21. Just running through the last of our checks then, the before takeoff checks. All temperatures, we're looking for a minimum of 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Looking good both there on the left and on the right. Battery temperature is good. Air conditioning will now take off in preparation for the takeoff. In terms of our lighting, we'll take the taxi lights on. We'll leave the rest of the lighting here till we're lined up on the runway. Same for the transponder, we can leave that in standby for now, and the weather radar as well, we'll leave in standby. So again, just making a left turn here on Alpha, out towards Alpha 1 for runway 21.
Tower 540.
Okay, so we now got ourselves lined up here on runway 21. The last of our before takeoff items, engine temperatures and pressures are checked, same there for the battery temp. Air conditioning is selected off, lighting, we've got the nav and strobe lights selected on, same as well for the recognition lights. Taxi lights are off, landing lights are selected on. Transponder is set through to out, weather radar is selected on, and just holding the aircraft here on the tow brakes. The takeoff power setting, we're looking for 1260 foot-pounds of torque, so we're going to bring the power levers up just shy of that. And off the brakes. So feeding in the power, the aircraft is a little bit sensitive, it has to be said, both during the taxi and the takeoff. So power is set. And easing back on the yoke. Feels good there in terms of the lift off. We do have positive climb. Bring up the gear. And we'll just get that nose down. Looking to build up a little bit of speed. We can retract the flaps above 120 knots. We'll just wait here as well till we're through 500 feet. There's 120, and there's 500 feet. So retracting the flaps. We'll pitch here now for a climb of around 140 knots.
Set 12, camera like to drive, Juliet.
For the en route climb power settings, we're looking for 1200 foot-pounds of torque. We'll leave ourselves here at 1150 and 2190 RPM, which we're currently doing. We'll start a left-hand turn now. We're going to join overhead the field, outbound 007 as discussed. We'll just slew the heading bug around here as well.
Foxtrot out 4, hold short 24, turn 12.
Just coming up through 7,000 feet. We'll fly the aircraft manually until we're up at cruise altitude, at which point we can get the autopilot in. So for the en route climb checks, props are set 2190 RPM, power levers, we've got 1100 foot-pounds of torque. Ignition can now come off. All doors are closed. Ice deflectors can come off here as well.
For the option, you're inside of a Cessna, approaching a 3-mile right base.
Cabin pressurization. At the moment, still showing around 5,000 foot there on the cabin altitude. Just coming up through 9,000 feet. You can see the delta PSI there is increasing, so expecting to see that cabin climb as we come up through 10,000. Cabin temperature and mode selector, 11 degrees down the back, we'll come back through to auto heat once again. For the master caution there, that's just for the oil doors. That's the en route climb checklist complete. Up through 10,000 feet, we'll take the landing lights off.
Runway 24, clear to the option, and we're looking for the Cessna 556.
And about another 40-50 degrees here to come onto our heading. Just coming up through a little bit of cloud, temperature just below 0 degrees Celsius. For the time being we should be okay without the de-icing systems, but we'll keep an eye on the weather conditions. We're not going up through transition altitude today, so the altimeters can stay on 3044. We can though take the recognition lights off.
So it's a 5-5 Victor, turn base.
Turning base, 5-5 Victor.
And we'll just nudge those power levers up again to maintain 1100 foot-pounds of torque. We're in the climb. They're looking good now on our heading, just slightly out to the right of track currently. We'll just wait until we get onto our course inbound towards Flagstaff. And just trimming forward here as well now, just to reduce some of those control forces. We'll leave ourselves climbing around 150 knots.
So it's a 445, you're number 2, following sets of traffic just established on the left base.
So according to the GPS, we've got about 19.5 miles to run towards Flagstaff. In terms of the frequency for the station,
The 2 traffic in sight, 78445.
just go to waypoint info, 11385. We'll tune that up on the active. And as you can see, now picking up the CDI bar and the DME. 1,000 to go. The DME there does concur with the GPS, and again we are just out to the right of track, so maintaining our present heading. Just reduce now vertical speed as we approach 15,000 feet. 15,000 is going to keep us above all of the high terrain for our flight here today.
Truck 12, cross route 24 Alpha 4 Golf, Delta to Juliet.
So we'll get ourselves leveled off, get the autopilot in. The autopilot seems to work pretty nicely from what I've seen so far. And once we're established, we'll run through the cruise checks.
Third cross 24 down 4, Golf Delta, Juliet 12.
Okay, there's 15,000. We'll come back to around 900 foot-pounds of torque. Find that works pretty well down at lower altitudes in terms of a cruise speed. So just getting ourselves trimmed out, and then we'll take the autopilot. Obviously as the speed builds here, the aircraft wanting to climb. But we are now pretty nice in trim. Overall, quite an enjoyable aircraft to hand fly. Again, perhaps just a little bit light on the flight controls at times. I'd say the aircraft flies much the same as the TBM 850 did before it saw its updates, so we may well see perhaps some further refinement to the flight model here as well of the Dukes. We've got heading and out. We'll leave ourselves in heading for now. Once we're established back on our planned course, we'll perhaps come into nav. That speed's still picking up there at the moment, so we'll just come back towards 850 foot-pounds of torque. More or less established now on course, so we'll just adjust the heading. In terms of the cruise checks then, the ignition is set through to off, oil doors are closed, ice deflectors are off, heater heats are selected on, windshield heat. We'll leave off now. We do seem to be just above the worst of this lower cloud layer, so I don't think we're going to need any systems in terms of de-icing, but we'll keep an eye on the conditions as I say. In terms of our fuel state, we've got 87 gallons there on the left, 83 gallons on the right, fuel relatively balanced. We're looking for no more than 25 gallons there in terms of an imbalance. On the props now, we can come back towards 2,000 RPM.
This is 445, you're number 2, following the system, runway 24, clear to land. Number 2 for 24, clear to land, 78445.
No power is set, and just increasing slightly again those power levers. Looking to maintain a nice high cruise speed. Looks like we're just drifting slightly off course here from Flagstaff, so we'll counter that on the heading. No power is set, cabin temperature and mode selectors. Again set through to auto heat, 16 degrees now down the back, so things are just warming up. And cabin altitude still showing 5,000 feet, around 4 psi now on the Delta P. So cabin pressure is checked, engine performance is checked, that is the cruise checklist complete. So we're just approaching the station. We'll use the RMI now for our guidance. We'll come back into GPS navigation. And once we're tracking outbound over Flagstaff, we'll perhaps take a look at the autopilot there. We'll fly ourselves in nav. Current ground speed 245 knots, so making a 90-degree turn here, we want to turn about 1% of our ground speed ahead of time. It's going to be about 2.5 miles. You can see there the GCN already wants us to turn. Next heading is going to be 302. We'll set that here on the heading bug. And there's 302, we'll set that as well. Go on the HSI.
This is 737 Quebec Charlie, Dutch Tower, 8 Yankee. Carson Zulu.
And as I say, once we're tracking outbound, we'll come into nav. Take the flight director on here as well, not that we really need it particularly today. As you can see, just coming overhead Flagstaff, tracking towards waypoint Sabra. Planning on arriving at Sabra at 10,000 feet, so we've got 5,000 feet to lose. We'll go with a descent rate of around 1,000 feet per minute. So 5 minutes required for the descent, and currently showing about 50 miles to run. We're doing about 4 miles a minute here currently, so that's about 11 minutes to run towards the waypoint. Again, descending about 5 minutes before. That's going to be about 20 miles before Sabra. So of course we can just keep a good eye here on the GPS distance to run. We've also got the DME as a nice backup. Again, just wait until we come onto that CDI bar.
Quebec Charlie, traffic just off your left wing, 1,800, type unknown.
And we'll now come into nav. So far, as you'd expect from Black Square, the aircraft does seem to be very robust in terms of its systems operation. The autopilot as well does seem to be working very nicely. Just center up our heading bug. We are now entering into a little bit of cloud, so we'll take the windshield heat on. Take the fuel vent heats on here as well. We may as well take the prop heats on here as well. And lastly, we'll just take the ice deflectors back on. So all of our indications there on the caution and warning panel, expecting to see those. Established nicely then at 15,000 feet, about another 40 miles to run towards waypoint Sabra. Fairly short flight for us here today, so whilst we're in the cruise, we'll briefly take a look through the included onboard tablet, a really nice feature and somewhat of an upgrade on the Black Square products. It will just be a very brief look at the tablet. We've only got about another 5 minutes here in the cruise. And then we'll commence our descent for the ILS on 203 at Grand Canyon.
Control, be full stop.
Touch and go please, and one or possibly two left.
Roger. This is 03 Hotel Turbine.
Quebec Charlie, I'm up on Kingston.
This is Quebec Charlie, you're number 2, following shifts in traffic on a mile final, runway 24, clear for the option. After the option, make left traffic.
Okay, so taking a very brief look at the tablet. Again, a really nice addition to the product. Previously we had all of this functionality available to us via the weather radar, which worked okay, but it was a little bit of a clunky system. This is certainly much more user-friendly. Firstly, on the options page we have the avionics selection. As you've seen today, we're running the TTS GCN, which once again is a payware mod. And as I say, when we look at the Turbine Duke, we'll take a look at some more basic avionics configurations. As you can see here as well, we can choose between the PMS GCN 750 and the TDS GCN XI. We have a couple of options in terms of how the aircraft handles the beta range. As I mentioned on the ground, it seems as though the aircraft naturally goes slightly into the beta range even on a normal hardware configuration, which personally I'm not a huge fan of, but it works okay. We also have the option for a couple of visual effects as well as the external fixtures and fittings they can deploy automatically when you load the aircraft up. We have the option to display a co-pilot internally, you've already seen that. And lastly as well, we have a little option there for VATSIM. You can monitor all comm radios when the option's selected. Onto the payload page, very much what you might expect. We can load out the aircraft. As you can see here, we've got about 80 gallons now in each main tank. We've got 5 passengers on board, myself included, 6 of us, about 30 pounds baggage, so we're pretty much up at max takeoff weight. You can also see the aircraft's CFG limits. As well, we can open the aircraft doors, refill the onboard oxygen, and select the various exterior elements. all of which I'll aim to show you throughout the video. As with the A2A Comanche, we also have the ability to see the engine running in real time. We can also see the aircraft state, we can repair the engine, clean the engine, repair the starter. Really nice little functionality there. You can see at the moment we are just picking up a little bit of icing, and we've catered for that already with the ice deflectors, the windshield heat, the prop heats. Same as well, of course, on the right hand engine. You can see as well engine condition is modelled. As you wear down the engines you are more likely to suffer failures. Then on the elect page we get a comprehensive layout of the aircraft electrical systems. You can see what's drawing power, what's providing power currently, which systems are on and off. Same with the cabin heating. You can see there the cabin heating and cooling systems, the current cabin temperature, the oxygen state. Again, a really nice level of depth included with the aircraft. Very comprehensive features. Lastly, in terms of failures, we're not going to be looking at the failures here today. We'll probably do that with the Piston Duke. But we have the option to set failures based on the mean time between failure. Currently we've got that set to the real world 1x. You can though also program and schedule failures, run failures in real time, and as you might expect from a Black Square product, there are a whole host of different failures available. I believe it's some 150 plus. So that is just a very brief look at the tablet. We're shortly approaching our top of descent. Hopefully though that gives you a good idea of the features available. Once again, a really nice feature on the aircraft. Great to see that upgrade in terms of the very user-friendly tablet options.
Thank Charlie, that traffic, oh no, the number's no factor.
You're sliding into the runway background. Okay, thanks Charlie, thank you.
Texas Tower, Skyhawk 1455 Victor is ready to go on 24, and we'd like the option.
Skyhawk 1455 Victor, Digits Tower, hold short of runway 24, traffic crossing downfield.
Okay, so as discussed, we are just approaching our top of descent. We've got about 20 nautical miles now to run towards Savoura. No vertical speed control on the aircraft, so we'll just come back into attitude and then we'll have to use pitch to control the descent. Just get the chart out, we can discuss the arrival. So Grand Canyon National, we want approaches. It's going to be the ILS 03. And again, we'll just come back to the full display. Once more, I really like the GTN XI, I always have, and with the NavGraph functionality, it really does make the unit, to my mind, one of the best products available within the sim. So the MSA for our sector is 9,200 feet. We're going to come down towards 10,000 feet at waypoint Savoura. So we'll select 10,000.
Hold short of 24 for traffic crossing downfield, 55 Victor.
As discussed, we'll come back into attitude and just pitch the nose down. Looking for a descent rate here of around 1,000 feet per minute. Unfortunately, the pitch wheel here doesn't seem to work with my pitch inputs, which is interesting since the pitch input I use on my hardware is compatible with the JustFlight F28. You would assume that the same keybinds would be used, given that this is, to some degree, a JustFlight product. So there's our descent rate of 1,000 feet per minute. We'll keep a good eye here on the speed. You can see there that our torque has fallen off as a result of selecting the deflector doors and the various de-icing systems. So the speed has dropped off a little bit, but it's picking up again now here in the descent, so just reducing the power. The descent checks. For the pressurization, aerodrome elevation 6,500 feet. So there we'll be looking to come back towards sea level in terms of our cabin pressurization. That takes us all the way up towards 10,000 feet. So cabin pressurization is set. Ignition will come back through to auto. All doors are closed. Ice deflectors, just clearing now that cloud layer, so we'll take the ice deflectors off. Same here as well for the windshield heat and the prop heats. Power levers are set. Engine performance is checked. Ice protection is set as required, just coming down through 13,500 feet. As we continue here in the descent then, we'll just brief up the approach. So it's going to be the ILS for runway 03 into Grand Canyon National that we're flying. It's plate 11-1. Frequency for that is going to be 108.9. So we can tune that up. We've got 108.9. Doesn't look as though we're currently picking that up on the DME. Final approach course is 030. We're in GPS nav, so we can set that here ahead of time.
Check Complex ground, proceed via Delta Golf, hold short runway 24. Delta Golf, hold short 24, check Golf.
There's 030. It's going to take us down to a Cat 1 MDA of 6795, that's 240 feet on the rad out. And we've got 240 selected. Again, aerodrome elevation 6,600 feet, so significant of course. In terms of the missed approach, it's climbing up to 7,000 feet, then a climbing left turn up to 9,000. And again, the MSA 9,200 in our sector. Terrain is significant. We've got the Grand Canyon as well out towards the north of the field. We'll be taking a closer look at that later on with the Turbine Duke. Okay, speed just approaching B&E, so again just reducing our power. For the time being, we'll come back onto the map. We'll take the chart again later on as we come onto the ILS. And approaching waypoint Sabre now, about another 5 miles to run, so we'll just increase that descent rate. Another 2,000 foot to lose here in the descent. We'll just wait until we turn inbound towards the airfield, and then we'll come back into conventional nav, see if we can't pick up the ILS. And we'll just keep reducing our speed. We'll aim to come back to around 180 knots here during the turn. The approach, cabin altitude and differential pressure are checked. Fuel selectors are both on. Fuel quantities are checked. Fuel and balance looks good. Recognition lights are selected on. Pitot heats are selected on. Windshield heat, prop heat are both selected off. Cabin temperature and mode selector will come back through to off. Just got up to around 20 degrees there on the cabin. Ignition is set through to auto. Ice deflectors will leave off for now, and flaps will hold. So there's 1,000 foot to go. Just center up the heading bug again.
Yak 1455 Victor, Dutchess Tower, runway 24, clear for takeoff and make West Coast traffic. You'll be following Cessna, departing now.
As I say, as soon as we're established inbound, we'll come back into conventional nav. Just reduce that vertical speed here as well, just to aid in terms of the aircraft levelling us off. And that speed should drop back towards 180 knots here as we level off.
Runway 24, cleared for takeoff, and we'll follow that Cessna 55 Victor.
Not yet visual with the field, expecting to see that come in fairly shortly. And check about 17 miles to run. Come back into heading. And back into conventional nav. Okay, so nicely on the loc.
Cessna 03 Hotel, runway 24, clear for the option.
And nicely below the glide slope, which is exactly where we want to be. Take nav again. So we have nav out. We can arm up the glide slope here as well. So it doesn't look as though we want GS, we want approach.
Runway 24, proceed to options, 03 Hotel.
And speed reducing. We'll just hold roughly 180 knots for now. Once we come onto that glide slope, we'll aim to reduce the speed back towards around 140. We can start to configure as we wish. So you can see that speed is just very slowly reducing there. Yeah, interestingly, it doesn't look as though we're now holding the loc. Okay, the aircraft is just very slowly correcting there, so still good in terms of the approach. We do have approach mode there on the FMA. So far so good. Visual now as well with the field. Straight off the nose, as we're expecting to see. Here comes the glide slope, so reducing our power, we'll take the gear down.
Check 12, caution runway 24, Golf, Alpha 4, Alpha 5, shut the turbine.
That should provide us with enough drag, so we'll hold 140 for now. Just keeping the speed up as we come down final approach. We'll reduce our speed a little bit closer to the field. Back to the charts page again, so 9,000 for the missed approach altitude. We'll wait until we come onto the glide. Good now on the speed, just within the white arc, so we could take approach flat, but again, just going to hold 140 for now.
Check 3, that's ground for TZ Delta, runway 15, hold short runway 24.
So the approach checklist is complete for the landing checklist. Cabin differential
Quebec Charlie, downward to the option.
is checked. Wing pumps
7 Quebec Charlie, you're number 2, fall in, Cessna traffic, just turning left base, you got him in sight.
are both selected on. Props will hold for now. All doors are selected open. So flaps, landing gear and props to come.
Kayak 55 Victor, you're number 2, fall in, Cessna traffic on the left base, you got him in sight.
And the speed just creeping up, so just reducing our power settings slightly. The Navigraph integration, as you can see, works very seamlessly. We've also got the current aircraft position, which is a really nice tool for situational awareness. Not getting a DME here off the ILS, but we do have the glide. Looks as though we've captured. And the aircraft is now descending, hence the speed they're just picking up.
Kayak 55 Victor, number 2, runway 24, clear for the option.
So we'll aim to keep 120 knots here through most of the final approach, just to keep us above blue line. Short final will bring the speed back to around 110 knots.
Number 2, runway 24, clear for the option. 55 Victor.
And speed is good, we are back within the white arc, so we'll take the approach flap. Obviously a little bit more lift there now, so the aircraft pitching the nose down to maintain the glides. Just centering up our heading bug once again. So 120 knots, everything looking good. We'll just leave the autopilot in a little bit longer, but as you can see it does handle the ILS quite nicely. We'll manually fly the latter stages of the approach. Really nice view there as well, as we come down final approach of the Grand Canyon. Again, we'll go and explore that a little bit more with the Piston Duke in the later video.
Quebec Charlie, we're going to go around, we're following the traffic code.
So good on the speed, we'll take the autopilot out. Flight director can come off here as well. Just fly the rest of the approach manually. As I say, the Turbine Duke and indeed the Piston Duke, very nice to hand fly. They are smooth, predictable, stable aircraft, but they are reasonably light on the controls. The best way I can give you a reference for that is, again, if you're familiar with the TBM 850 from Black Square, the aircraft feels quite similar to that in terms of handling before the aircraft received its updates to the flight model. I've never flown a real-world Duke, so I don't know exactly how the aircraft would fly, but I suspect, again, it would be just a little bit heavier on the controls. Just a touch high here on the glide, just reducing our power slightly to get back onto the glide slope. Speed's looking good. In terms of the last of our landing items, then we do have gear down 3 green, just waiting on the flaps. We can bring up the props here as well now. So props back up at 2190 RPM. Going back onto the glide, slightly out to the left now of the loc, correcting for that.
Enter 3 class 124, come number 15, and take 15 all the way to the end to Gulf.
And as I mentioned, as we approach short final, we'll let that speed reduce further.
7 Quebec Charlie, you're staying in the pattern. Rudder.
Feels as though we're getting a little bit of lift there. The aircraft just trending high, picking up some speed.
500.
That's checked 500. We'll come through to landing flap. Okay, we do have master caution. Cancel that.
Cessna 7 Quebec Charlie, you still have the Cessna just heading to your right, it looks like in sight?
We're still following on that excursion out here.
Just getting ourselves back onto the centre line. Got a bit of a crosswind out from the right, that's what's pushing us off the loc. So back off the power levers, into the flare. There's touchdown. Come all the way through to full beta. Save the brakes and we can vacate here off to the right. So there you go, ladies and gents. I do hope you enjoyed our outing in the Black Square Turbine Duke. Once more, undoubtedly the Duke is another very high quality offering from Black Square, and as usual the aircraft is right up there with the very best when it comes to systems depth and modelling. Once again, please do bear in mind this was an early access look at the product, so again there may be minor tweaks, minor fixes between now and release. With that being said, as always I'll just give you my thoughts on the product in its current state. Starting with the texturing and modelling. Very high quality there on both counts, as you'll have seen throughout the video. My only personal critique when it comes to the aircraft texturing, it is absolutely immaculate both inside and out, which I know some people prefer. Personally I like to see a little bit of weathering, a little bit of wear and tear on my aircraft. And once again, internally the textures do have that slightly painted feel as opposed to a more photorealistic look. On both counts though, it's really just a question of personal taste, and certainly Black Square have been very diligent in terms of the level of care and attention that the texturing has received. As far as the aircraft's flight model goes, I've said it before with previous Black Square products, for me the Black Square lineup is really going to appeal to those of you who are more interested in your systems simulation within the sim. The flight modelling of the aircraft isn't bad, but I will say it's not up to the same level of depth as the systems modelling. As I mentioned, the aircraft is pretty sensitive on the ground, particularly during the takeoff. It does feel fairly light on the controls as well once airborne. We have though with previous Black Square releases seen the developer put out significant updates after release. The TBM 850, as I mentioned, flew much the same as the Turbine Duke on initial release, but since then the aircraft has received a major overhaul, not least of all in the flight modelling department. So hopefully post-release we will see some updates to the flight model, although I didn't come across any major issues with it. In terms of performance, the aircraft certainly seemed pretty good, and according to the documentation, the Addon matches the real-world POH values to within around 2%. To me, as I say, the aircraft just feels a little bit lightweight, as we've seen from many other aircraft in the sim. Systems modelling is the package's, and indeed Black Square's, forte. These aircraft are pretty much second to none when it comes to systems depth, as hopefully I've been able to demonstrate to you during the video. In terms of systems depth, we have 12 avionics configurations that can be switched out on the fly. We also have integration with the PMS GTN 750 and the TDS GTN XI. There are 130 random or scheduled failures available. Environmental control is fully simulated, same for engine preheating. The lighting actually dims based on voltage available at the time. Care and attention when it comes to the system simulation really has been taken to the nth degree. Gyroscope physics for the various instruments are modelled. We also have visual effects for St. Elmo's fire, discharge of the static wicks when passing through severe weather, as well as mathematically accurate VOR and ADF signal attenuation, physics-based instrument needles, and a whole host of other custom systems modelling features. As I've already mentioned, if systems modelling is your thing, then the Black Square family of aircraft are certainly going to be right up your street, and the Duke family is certainly no exception to the rule. Aircraft sounds are absolutely top-notch as well. Black Square have worked in collaboration with Boris Audio Works, who, if you're familiar with his packages, makes some of the very best sound sets available for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Both internally and externally, both the Piston and Turbine Duke sound absolutely excellent. Internally, I don't really have any complaints with either aircraft. Externally, on the Turbine Duke it might have been nice to hear a little bit more prop noise at certain times, but it was really nice that you could hear the prop noise and engine noise in combination. And with the Piston Duke at times, the sounds were a little bit raspy externally, but that may be true to life for the real-world aircraft, I'm not entirely sure. Again though, as the video has hopefully demonstrated, a very high level of attention to detail on the sounds, and the very comprehensive internal sound set really making the aircraft feel that much more immersive. Additional features included with the product are also pretty great. Firstly, we have the new and improved onboard tablet. I think that's a really nice addition to the product, certainly makes the whole user interface much more accessible. Great as well that we do have TDS GTNXI integration. That means we now have Navigraph integration as a result. And as you'll have seen with the Turbine Duke, that makes the aircraft a very capable IFR platform. Other additional features include the ability to display the co-pilot, the 130 plus scheduled and random failures. We also have the external fixtures and fittings, including, as you can see here, the engine warming utility. The aircraft is very much in line with what we would expect now from a premium Microsoft Flight Simulator add-on, a whole host of excellent features. Just one feature that was missing though, it would have been nice to see some passenger models down the back with the passengers selected in the fuel and load menu. Included documentation is again excellent, as is always the case with the Black Square add-ons. Manuals are included for both the Turbine and the Piston Duke variants, both manuals around 150 pages in length, giving exacting detail on both the aircraft operation and aircraft systems. As well, a comprehensive set of checklists included in both the manuals and using the InSim checklist function. Lastly, in terms of the aircraft FPS, I was getting around 40 FPS in the Dukes versus around 55 in the default Cessna 152 under the same conditions. So about a 15 FPS loss, pretty much in line with what you would expect from an aircraft of this level of fidelity. All in all then, once again it is worth reminding you that this is an early access version of the product. Nevertheless, as I think you can see for yourselves, the Dukes are done to Black Square's typically exacting standards. Another very high quality offering for the sim, one which I'm sure many of you will enjoy. And as I mentioned during the introduction, I think as well great to see another high quality multi-engine turboprop available for Microsoft Flight Simulator. The release date for the Duke family is still somewhat in flux at the moment, again somewhat dependent on Sim Update 15. Both aircraft will initially be available from the Just Flight website. The individual variants of the Duke will retail at just under £34. You can also buy both and save a little bit of money, with both the Piston and the Turbine Duke retailing together at £50. Once again, a very big thank you to Just Flight and Black Square for letting us take a look at the add-on. Thank you to all of you as well for watching the video, I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then please consider giving it a like. If you'd like to see more content from the channel, then please do consider subscribing as well. And if you'd really like to help support the channel further, you can do so by becoming a channel member or patron. I'll leave a link to both of those down in the video description below. As always, a very big thank you to my channel members and patrons for all of your support, it is thoroughly appreciated. I do hope that all of you are having a great day wherever you are, take really good care, and I will see you all again soon.